everyone. This week I have a special treat for you. I'm not cooking this week. This week we're going to go next door to my neighbor, CSA member Jessie Monter, and she has a very, very special treat for us. This is the time of year when all of the produce that is featured in excellent Mexican cooking is in season. So we're going to go next door and do a two-part series, and Jessie's going to teach us how to use the vegetables in your box to make green beans a la Mexicana and Mexican rice featuring fresh corn. So here we go.
So today I'm going to show you a great Mexican side dish using green beans. It's called green beans a la Mexicana, or Mexican style. And so I have our green beans from the CSA this week. I'm using all of them. I took 2 tomatoes. So the sauce, the a la Mexicana, is a really typical sauce. And the sauce consists of equal parts of tomato, onion, cilantro, and green chili pepper. So jalapeno or serrano are the 2 options you would want to use. So I'm going to start, I've washed all my vegetables. I'm going to start by preparing the sauce. So I'm going to just, you can dice or you can chunk these vegetables. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get them cooking. So I'm just chunking everything up in pretty generous chunks, and if you do not like spicy, the jalapeno is optional, although I really think it gives it a good flavor. And I was just, these days, sometimes jalapeno is not spicy, and so I always kind of check. I do the smell test, and these do not seem spicy, so I'm actually thinking I'm even going to add another jalapeno because I want my green beans to be a little bit spicy.
And Jessie, I'm going to ask you a question about the smell test. How can you tell that it's spicy from the smell? Does it make your nose water?
Yeah, okay. You start burning.
Okay.
The other option is this is kind of a Mexican style side dish. If you wanted to go down the Indian route, this same combination plus some chopped or maybe grated ginger will totally give it more of a Indian flavor. So that's another really fun way to do this. So I'm just putting some olive oil in my pan. One thing, some secrets of Mexican cooking that I've found is the more oil and the more salt you use, the tastier it is. So I'm trying to be generous, but I'm always pretty conservative with oil. And I'm using olive oil. I think traditionally you would probably use more of a high heat oil. So sometimes I use sunflower oil. That works well for me. But I'm just going to make sure I'm not getting my temperature too hot. So I'm going to let this oil warm up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and throw in my sauce. And I'm going to let that saute, maybe. We'll see how long it takes. Pretty much till it cooks down and does become a sauce. Okay. So I actually decided I'm just adding my onion and my jalapeno for a couple minutes so that they can kind of get that nice browned flavor before I add the tomatoes, because since the tomatoes have so much moisture, it'll kind of turn it into like a boiled texture. So first I'm trying to get some of that fry flavor on the onions and jalapeno. And also another option, if you want to use the jalapeno but you're not into spicy, you can certainly remove the seeds. I personally like them. I have my stove set to medium, and I'm just going to let this cook down. We'll see, probably about 5 minutes. And at this point, I like to salt it. And this is going to be a pretty generous salt. I'm going to put in a teaspoon. And then I'll check and maybe adjust. But like I said, salty really brings out the Mexican food flavor. And so while this is cooking, I'm just going to take my green beans and start chopping them. And some of you may feel like green beans are really time consuming, which they are. And I do have one little trick that I do. I take a handful and I line the ends up, and then I just do one chop on that side, and then I go to the other side, line them up, do a chop. So I find that gets me through preparing the green beans a lot faster. And then I'm going to cut them in 1 to 1.5 inches. Again, this you can adjust whatever you prefer, but I find smaller sized pieces are nicer. So I'm just going to get those ready. This has been cooking for 5 minutes. The way it is now is what I wanted. You can see like the jalapeno is just starting to change color. The tomatoes are definitely cooking down. But then I also wanted to not have them too cooked down because I'm going to add my green beans. And one thing that I found about green beans is I really like them soft. I found that when they're kind of crunchy, I don't enjoy them as much. So I'm going to be sure to give them plenty of time to cook. And as you can see, it actually is probably 1.5 inches to 2 inches, and this is the length that I really like. But again, you can really, how you cut things can really affect how you like the dish. And so I like everything nice and chunky. So put in my green beans. I'm gonna add some water. I'm thinking for this quantity, probably gonna do 1/4 cup. So it has been 10 minutes. We've had them cooking away. Looks like it was the right amount of liquid. I'm just going to give them a little taste test, make sure the salt is good. Yeah, I might add a little bit more salt, but I'm going to leave it like this for now. And probably go for another 5 minutes if I like mine really soft. I'm thinking I'll probably just turn it off and put the lid on and let them sit for about 10 minutes and they'll be perfect. And then the only other thing I wanted to say, so green beans a la Mexicana. It's a great way to use green beans, and a la Mexicana is the sauce, the equal parts of tomato, onion, cilantro, and jalapeno. So that is a really common sauce that can be used with just about any vegetable you can imagine. It's really great with zucchini, potatoes a la Mexicana. You can do mushrooms a la Mexicana. What else do I really like to do a la Mexicana? You can do eggs. Huevos a la Mexicana, a really common Mexican breakfast. So you would prepare the sauce in the same way, and then at the point I added the green beans, you would add eggs and stir them around and scramble them. You can do beans. You could prepare the sauce and add black beans or pinto beans, and it's a really delicious, flavorful bean dish. You could do chicken, you could do meat. And you can experiment with any vegetable that you're trying to find a good sauce for. So, thanks!
Yay!